Hi, everybody, and welcome back to week number 4 of the Basics of Creating Wealth. We are co-producing this event with the station, this beautiful 7,000 square foot wellness facility in Carlsbad. So I'm really excited tonight. Tonight's one of my favorite topics. In fact, it's the crux and the essence, the great secret that we just haven't been taught, and tonight we're going to go over it, and I'm going to show you the methodology and how everything that we've done in the past 3 weeks is really building on what we're going to talk about tonight. Okay, and we're going to start with our favorite definition, right? Our favorite definition, which I have up here on the board, which is that our financial freedom, we achieve financial freedom when our passive income, the income that we earn on a regular basis, is greater than our living expenses. Okay, now if we've been following the process properly, we've opened up our 6 jars, our 6 accounts, and we've got money flowing into these various accounts all the time, right? Okay, and we've said that the main account, the most important account, is the financial freedom fund, right? That financial freedom account is, we take at least a minimum of 10%, never more. We pay ourselves first, and we invest that into streams of income that create passive income for us. All right, so that's the key to the whole program. We move out of becoming consumers only, and we move into becoming investors. And I'm going to show you now, or very soon, why this is so important, and why the not missing a single payment, not missing a single chance to increase that financial freedom, and why it's so important. All right, because let's just talk about when we did this last week, at the end of last week, but I want to go over it again. All right, let's assume your living expenses is $5,000 per month, or at 60,000, 60K per annum, right? Right. So your living expenses. Now, this isn't your total, but this is your basics. That 50%, your housing, your food, your car and your utilities, your basic expenses, right? Because we have different financial freedom numbers we want to achieve. But just for tonight, let's just assume that your living expenses are $5,000 per month. And you say, well, what, man, Craig, if I could have a passive income of $5,000 per month, and at least I knew for the rest of my life, my rent, my house, my mortgage, my taxes, cars, utilities were all paid for, that would be sweet. Okay? All right, awesome. And now we're going to have to make some other assumptions. Let's assume for the time being that we can make 10% per annum. All right, then we know that in order to achieve financial freedom, we need to have $600,000 working for us, 600,000 little soldiers working for us at 10% in order to make 60,000 per year. Does that make sense? I'm going to go over it one more time, right? If we know we have to make $60,000 per annum in order to cover all our living expenses, right? Then we need to have at least a capital base, a base of $600,000, making 10% per annum. That'll shoot out 60,000 per year, and you're financially free, at least at this level. How cool is that? Amazing, right? Amazing. Now, I know what everybody's saying, and everybody in the back of their mind goes, how am I going to get 600,000 little soldiers working for me? All right? And here is the great key to this whole program. And those are 2 little words called compounding interest. Okay. Compounding interest is and I'll give you the definition by Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein said that compounding interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He said those who understand it will earn it, and those who do not understand it will pay it. He said compounding interest is the most powerful force in the universe. Okay? This is from Albert Einstein. All right? And not only did Albert Einstein say it, but Warren Buffett lived it. And Warren Buffett, who's the great investor of the 20th and 21st century, he has basically said over and over, compounding interest is the key. All right, so what is compounding interest? All right, compounding interest is really, it has 3 aspects to it. Okay, the first one is that it requires you to reinvest your earnings. All right, and so the interest that you earn on your investments needs to be reinvested rather than withdrawn and spent. Okay, so for example, if you earn $1,000 let's say your principal is $1,000 and you're earning 10% again. In year one, you're going to have $1,100, right? So you've earned $100 on that. If you go and you spend that $100, then you're still back to your same principal of 1,000. But if you reinvest it, then in year two, you've got $1,210. So this year you've made $100 in income. In year two, you made $110. You've basically compounded. It's this extra $10 that has been compounded. All right. So it requires you to reinvest the $100 that you made. It requires you to reinvest it to get your capital amount, to get that base bigger. And as you keep reinvesting the earnings, it grows on a compounded basis. And this is the key to earning long-term wealth. All right. This is the way we're going to get to the 600,000. I'm going to show it to you soon. All right, because compounding interest needs a second factor. There's three, like I said, there's three factors. The first one is the reinvestment of your earnings. The second one is the interest rate. So we've been talking about this number of 10% and 10%. Okay, but that's 10%. It could be 8%. It could be 7%. It could be 9%. It could be 5%. If you put it in the bank, you will earn compounding interest at today's rates of about 1/10 of 1%. Okay, now I'm going to give you a formula, and this is something that's really interesting just to know and to impress your friends with. Okay, and it's called the law of 72. Okay, and the law of 72 basically says that you divide 72 by the interest rate that you're earning, and that will tell you how long it will take for you to double your investment. What? I'm going to give it to you again. You take 72 and you divide it by the interest rate that you're earning, and it'll tell you how long it'll take you to double your investment. So in the example we've been using, and I just use round numbers because it's easy, if you take 72 and you divide it by 10%, how long is it going to take you to double your money? It's going to take you 7.2 years. Wow. You mean if I have this $1,000 here that I invested in 1 year, in year 7.2, this number is going to be 2,000. And 7.2 years later, this is going to be 4,000 and 8,000, etc., etc. Which brings us to our third and sometimes most important part of compounding interest, and that's time. Okay? The more time you give your investments, the more you're able to accelerate the income potential of your original investment. Again, the more time you give, the more opportunities it has to double your income. Okay, so I'm going to give you a staggering example of compounding interest using our three facets: the reinvestment of your earnings, the interest rate you're earning, and time. All right, I'm going to give you two scenarios. We had Pam, and we have Steve. Okay? Pam started at age 20. Started investing at the age of 20. And she invested $4,000 for 20 years. So she invested a total of $80,000. Okay? Steve, on the other hand, he started at age 40. Okay. He invested the same $4,000 times 25 years equals $100,000. Okay. All right. Now here's the great part. So Steve invested more than Pam, as we can see. But by the time they both turned 65, okay, Pam had a total of $2.5 million, where Steve had a total of $400,000. This is the power of compounding interest. Now, if you take a look, we had a number of 600,000 there, all of a sudden that's not so outrageous. Pam, who started at 20, so she started early, she invested in, so both of these were earning an interest rate of 10%. So they were both earning an interest rate of 10%. But Pam, because she started at 20 instead of at 40, landed up with 2.5 million at 65 versus 400,000. Because she activated the power of compounding interest, because she utilized the vehicle of time. This is why I'm adamant that whoever's watching this and we're going, oh man, I'm 40, I'm 50, it's too late for me. Well, it's never too late. You've definitely lost some time, so you've definitely lost the ability. It's much better if you're 20 or 25 or 30, which is why I teach my children this, which is why you need to be teaching your children or your nieces or your nephews or people who are younger, because if they understand this concept, if they understand this scenario, that they could just invest $4,000 a month for 20 years, $4,000 a year for 20 years, by the time they're 65, they never have to worry about it at all. Now, if this is the case and you've got $2.5 million and that's your number there, then you're now financially free. That $2.5 million at 10% is going to make you $250,000 a year. You'll excuse my chicken scratch, but it doesn't, you get the point. The point is that passive income compounded is what creates long-term wealth. This is why the jars are so important. This is why, remember when I said to you, please pay yourself first. Take that first 10% out and invest it into income streams that create passive income on a compounded basis. That's the game. That's the key. That's the key that all wealthy people understand. This is why the more money you can put into your financial freedom fund, the more it grows compounded. The more little soldiers you have, the quicker you achieve your goal, which is financial freedom. So you have to pull money out, you have to get it working for you, you have to keep reinvesting it at the highest interest rate you can, and over time, assuming the law of 72, you will double your money every so often. If this is 8%, if the interest rate you're making is 8%, you'll double it every 9 years. 9, 18, 27, 36, 45. You keep doubling. Okay? So this is the most important. This is how we achieve that number. This is how we achieve financial freedom. And remember, I told you that I don't have any get-rich-quick schemes. Nothing I teach is get rich. This is disciplined focus. This is why you cannot afford to miss a payment into your financial freedom fund. Because when you look at it compounded, you realize what an effect it has on your finished product, on this 2.5 million. Had Pam missed a year, it wouldn't have been just $4,000. It would have been $4,000 compounded, and that thing snowballs over time, creating a massive, massive nest egg. So it requires you starting now. It requires you getting into the discipline and into the habit of investing into income streams that compound on an annual basis. The other last point I want to make is that when you got to become cognizant of your spending as well. Right? Because every penny you take that let's say you want to go buy a $500 pair of shoes, all right? Those ones with the nice little red things underneath them. Those $500 shoes compounded over years at a particular interest rate. Those shoes will land up costing you tens of thousands of dollars. So we've got to start looking at money in a different way. Sure, I could go buy those new set of golf clubs. Sure, I could go buy that new outdoor patio furniture. But what if instead of doing that, I took that money and I stuck it into streams of passive income that grew on a compounding basis, leading to long-term sustainable wealth. So that is our first key to this whole project, is understanding the power of compounding interest.